Welcome to Cat and Jess Talk the Best, where we're going to be talking about IMDb's top 250 movies from April 12th, 2018. My name is Cat.
And I'm Jess.
And this is our second of 4 episodes for our Halloween episode. And this one is House on Haunted Hill from 1959, which is one of Jess's favorites. And it is a horror mystery film. It has a 6.9 on 19,241 votes.
It's not that many votes.
It's not the lowest of our 4, but it is very low.
It is pretty low. I bet I know which one is the lowest.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, it's honestly one of my favorites.
Yeah. So, the spoiler-free synopsis. A millionaire offers $10,000 to 5 people who agree to be locked in a large, spooky rented house overnight with him and his wife.
Alright, so this is directed by William Castle, who did the original 13 Ghosts, The Tingler, which is, I'll tell in a second, and The Gun That Won the West. And, of course, your actors, Vincent Price, one of my favorite actors of all time, Carol O'Mart, and Richard Long. And William Castle did The Tingler with Vincent Price right after this movie.
Never heard of it.
I've seen both.
I've heard of 13 Ghosts. I haven't watched the original. I watched the newer one, which is, I like that one, but...
Yeah, it's the original.
No, I'm not talking about the original 13 Ghosts. I'm talking about the one that came out near the same time as the remake of this movie.
Oh.
Which is better than the remake of this movie. I like that 13 Ghosts better than I like the remake of House on Haunted Hill.
Yes.
Because I literally... Well, we'll talk about it when we get there.
Like...
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Alright. So, Rotten Tomatoes. This one actually was very surprisingly good on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes!
It sucks. The 2 that I picked are bad on Rotten Tomatoes, and the 2 that you picked are good on Rotten Tomatoes. But I don't really care what critics think. I just like what I like. So, the average rating from critics is a 7.1. Alright, so it has an average rating of 7.1. And 92% of critics liked it off of the 24 reviews that they did. 22 of them were fresh, 2 were rotten. So, one of the fresh ones, Variety staff, who we've had a couple of before. Some, I think, about half and half. Good, half bad with them.
Yeah.
So they said there is some good humor in the dialogue, which not only pays off well against the ghostly elements, but provides a release for laughter so it does not explode in the suspense sequences.
Agreed.
Yeah. And then Jonathan Rosenbaum. I think we've had him a couple of times before, too.
I think so.
If one had to pick the best of the campy horror films that made Castle's reputation, this 1959 feature would probably be it. Yeah, it is kind of campy. But it's good, though. I really like it.
I love it. It's like, if you want to watch, like, classic horror films, this is one of them.
Yeah. And then 2 rotten. Howard Thompson, a stale spook concoction from the William Castle Rob White production team. Okay.
Ouch. Ouch. How is it stale?
I can understand what he means, because if he did not watch it until now, then it is kind of stale compared to what type of horror movies we get now. But, seeing as how it's not even made now, I don't know why he would say that.
Like, this came out in the 1950s. You gotta remember that.
A lot of people don't care about that. A lot of people just say, oh, this is supposed to be a horror movie, and it doesn't scare me, then it sucks.
And it's like, these people don't realize that horror films, a lot of horror films now, no offense to them, they do a lot of just blood effects and...
It's, blood porn.
In a sense, yes. And there's, like, rarely any blood in this.
There's a little bit, but not a lot.
No. Not like the ones now.
Yeah.
That's why I like it so much.
David Nusar, a far from classic misfire from an exceedingly erratic director. And that's, my guess, like a snippet, because it said the rest is in Spanish.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Okay.
So the consensus, Campy by modern standards, but spooky and atmospheric, House on Haunted Hill is a fun, well-executed cult classic featuring a memorable performance from genre icon Vincent Price.
Agreed.
Yeah, it is definitely very campy by modern standards.
Modern standards.
But it does have a spooky factor to it, and then the atmosphere of it's great. It's a really good one.
Plus Vincent Price.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just a classic. Classic. Yeah. Especially with horror films. He's like top notch. I mean, he's up there with Boris Karloff.
Yeah.
And Boris did like the original Mummy and Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Vincent's better. But that's me.
I've seen more stuff from Boris Karloff than I have from Vincent Price, but that's because I like the monster movies.
Yeah. And this isn't really a monster movie.
No, it's not. It's got one little tiny bit of a monster.
A little bit.
But you don't actually see it. The income. The budget was $200,000. And that is all I found.
It's like, that's actually really cheap.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah.
I'll get to that with the trivia, too.
And I couldn't find anything about any awards.
Really?
Yeah, look, there's nothing there. Normally it has something on IMDb about the awards, and it has nothing.
Weird.
Yeah. So. I don't know if this ever won any awards or not.
Yeah, it doesn't say much. But. I mean, around that time there's other things. Big movies going on, so.
So, initial thoughts.
I remember the first time I watched this. I did.
Do you?
Yes.
Me too.
This was...
It was like 3 days ago.
This was about... Let's see, I was in high school when I first watched this. Because my brothers and I are big fans of Vincent Price. And so we're like, ooh, Vincent Price movie you haven't seen. So we got it, we watched it. The first time I watched it, it scared me. I'm honest. I am completely honest. And this one part still scares me, even though I know it's coming up every single time. I know it is. And I still get scared every time. I always jump.
I have no idea what you could be talking about because absolutely none of this movie scared me.
I was like, you have to watch this. To watch this, really get the full effects of this movie, you have to watch it. It got to be dark. You have to be kind of by yourself to really get the full effect.
You do realize that's how I watch all horror movies, right?
I'm just saying.
Like, I mean, that's how I watch pretty much every movie, but, like, I always have it dark, and I'm always watching movies by myself, so.
Especially the beginning part. That's the really big effect to get dark and alone. But I love this movie. I always have.
I liked it. I watched it some point this week.
Yeah.
I don't remember when I watched it, but I liked it a lot. It didn't scare me, but, I mean, the points where it would have, because of how many horror movies I watch, I saw it coming. Like, I knew when something was going to happen.
Well, I knew that too, but still.
But I don't get scared.
Yeah. So, she's very numb. I'm just saying, like, numb to horror films.
Yeah, I am. Well, I was raised watching them. Like, my favorite movie growing up besides The Lion King was The Haunting.
Which is a horror film.
I watched it so much my mom hates that movie.
She gets it from her dad.
I do. My dad watches and loves horror movies.
This is why she's so numb to them.
Yeah. I'm very numb to them. They just don't really scare me. There are a few that give me the creeps. And when a movie can give me the creeps, it's really good. I think that's when I love it. And there's actually 2 that I've watched so far this month that one of them I might even use for next year because it's just that good.
Oh.
I'll tell you what it is later.
Okay.
But, yeah, I really liked it. So.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Alright, that was your warning. If you haven't watched the film yet, then go ahead and stop and go ahead and watch it real quick. It's only like an hour and 15 minutes.
It's only an hour and 15 minutes.
It's a really quick.
It's short.
Like, I was watching it and taking notes, and all of a sudden it was like 10 minutes left, and I was like, it's already over?
It's short.
I was like so confused as to why it was over.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's a short film.
It is very short, so. My notes don't, it doesn't look like it's a short movie because I have 2 pages of notes, but that's because I, took detailed notes because I figured you would talk a lot about it, so I wanted to make sure that I knew what you were talking about since I've only seen it the one time.
Oh, well, thanks for that. I was like, so, this starts out with a blank black screen.
Uh-huh.
And then all of a sudden you hear, the scream.
Yeah.
And then, this ghoulish sound, and, there's chains rattling, this evil laugh. And this would have been really good in the movie theaters.
Yeah.
To watch it. Because if you'd never known what's going on, you'd have been like, okay, what the hell is going to happen?
I would have thought they were about to start playing Monster Mash, but that's because that's my favorite Halloween song.
Yes, they're going to play the Monster Mash right before
because
the movie.
That's how Monster Mash starts!
I know!
So I would have thought they were playing the Monster Mash before the movie.
It's okay, so then this person's head comes up on screen, and his name is Watson. And he's talking about how, the house on Haunted Hill, about how 7 people have been murdered in the house.
In the last century.
Yes, and that it's haunted.
Yep.
And he owns the house because it was his brother's before, but his brother was killed in the house. And so now he owns it. And he spent one night in that house, and
he said he barely survived.
Barely survived. Because it was just that haunted, just that messed up in a way. So then after that, he goes away, he fades away, and then Vincent Price's face comes up. His name is Frederick Lauren. He's a millionaire.
Yeah.
And he says, my wife wants to throw this party. A haunted house party. Because she thinks it's so amusing.
Yeah. That would be me.
That would be you. And see what he's
Except for what happens in the rest of the movie would not be me.
No. So he says he's invited 5 people to spend the next 12 hours, and they'll get $10,000 to you or your next of kin if you don't survive.
Yeah. Which I thought that was cool that they're going to give it to, if this person dies in this house tonight, they're going to give it to their family. I was like, that's kind of nice.
Hey.
But I mean, you're rich. So
he's like, $10,000 for 5 people, and that's $50,000. Just dished out. Plus probably renting the house.
Yeah.
That's probably enough. And then other things that were placed in the house for the party.
Yeah.
That actually made that giggle. I was looking for a giggle. It's like, how?
So it's kind of funny because they all come up to the house in funeral cars.
In hearses.
Yeah. And that reminds me of I have this, I don't think I have it anymore. Yeah, I don't. It might be at my parents' house or hidden in a box somewhere because Sean doesn't like the cover. We have this book of spooky stories, and one of them is "Don't laugh when the hearse goes by because you may be the next to die." So I was trying not to laugh that they were coming into the house in hearses because I'm
you're like,
yeah, I don't want to laugh at that.
Look, I might be next.
Because I read that when I was little, so I was like, oh. Can't laugh when this car goes by because I don't want to die.
Yeah, it's like, I mean,
it's one of those things that gets imprinted in you when you're a child.
It's like, don't laugh. There's somebody dead in there.
Yeah.
But that was funny. Yeah, that they're coming up in hearses.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you see each guest that's coming. So there's Lance. He's a test pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Ruth, who's a journalist, but she needs the money because she's got gambling debts.
Yeah, and she's one of the only people providing for her family.
Nope. That's a different person.
Oh. Oh, yeah.
Then there's
Watson. Because that was the old lady. My bad.
Yeah. Ruth's the older lady. Then there's Watson. He's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you own the house,
and he almost died.
And he almost died in a big comeback. I'm guessing it's for the money.
Yeah.
And then there's the Dr. David Trent.
Uh-huh.
He's a psychiatrist, and he's coming to work on a thing on hysteria.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's Nora, who is providing for her family.
Yeah, that's the one who she's, like, one of the only ones that can do anything for her family.
Yep, she supports her whole family. You find out later why. Yeah. She's the only one.
And, so they all, like, get in the house, and the door shuts by itself.
It opens and shuts by itself.
Yeah.
So that was like, ooh, nice effect.
Mm-hmm.
Classic horror film right there.
Yep. And they're all kind of in the living room area. And, the Mr. Lauren, played by Vincent Price, comes down. Didn't he? Or has he not come down yet?
Not yet.
Oh.
So they're, like, in this little area right there, right near the door. The door closes. They're talking, and there's a chandelier above.
Yeah. And the chandelier falls.
Chandelier falls. Nora was standing, like, right almost underneath it, and Lance runs and, like, saves her. Because, hero, right? It falls down, and then that's when Lauren is talking. Frederick Lawrence upstairs talking with his wife because he sees the chandelier fall. So he's talking to Annabelle, which is his wife. And they're really not very nice to each other.
No.
Like, at all. They're talking about, like, this one time that Annabelle poisoned him.
Yeah.
With arsenic.
But it didn't work, obviously.
It didn't work. And she's talking about how, well, I'm still alive because your other wives are dead.
Yeah.
And they're all...
this is what, his fourth...
I think so.
Wife?
Fourth wife. And... yeah. They're not very nice to each other.
Yeah.
It's like... She's like, he's saying, well, you need to come down because it's your idea. She's like...
This is your party.
It's your party. And she's like, well, I'm not coming down. It was your idea to invite the guests.
Yeah. She's like, you invited these people.
It's
I wanted it to be your friends, and you invited these people.
It's like, he's like, all you want is my money.
Yeah.
That's all you want. You just want to be a lovely widow. And he's just like, I suspect there's going to be something going on. He knows.
Yeah.
He knows something's up with her.
Yeah.
And he says, hanging is painful. I wrote that down. He's like, don't get any ideas. Hanging's kind of painful. And then Watson's telling about the people dying.
4 men and 3 women died. And that's when the blood was on the ceiling, and it's like blood stain, and it's like dripping down on the old lady's hand.
You're good.
That part that you were talking about. Yeah. That I liked, but...
Oh, I have a lot of quotes from that. That's one of my favorite interactions there. So it does drop on Ruth's hand, and then Frederick asks about the cellar, the wine cellar. Yeah. And he's like, didn't someone throw like their wife in like a acid vat or something?
Yeah. And so they go down there, and Pritchard is telling everyone like about the deaths down there, and about how all of them were like violent and wild and all different deaths. Like none of them were the same.
Yes.
And he picks up a dead rat because they ask if there's still acid in there. And he throws the dead rat into the pool.
And the bubbles and like everything.
Yeah.
And like the bones float up.
Yeah.
And he's saying it's like everything, the acid takes away everything except the bones.
Yeah. Which some acid does take away the bones, but it just depends on the acid, so.
That's very true.
And so they're all leaving, and Lance closes himself and Nora.
Yes.
In the cellar, and asks her about why and when she was invited.
They're talking, and she's explaining how her family got in an accident, and she was the only one able to work now.
Yeah. And, then a door opens behind them, and Lance goes inside, and it shuts before Nora goes in there.
Yeah, and locks him in, kind of.
Yep.
And like this, like, she turns around, and there's like, in like this other part of the cellar, like, there's this, like, this creepy looking lady.
Yeah, it's like...
Like, she's, like, in a black dress, and she's, like, blind and everything. She's creepy.
The one thing that I wish they hadn't done was showed her feet, like, where her feet would be, because then you can tell, like, it's a prop standing on, like, a rolly thing, rather than...
Yeah,
because if you hadn't seen that part, then you wouldn't be able to tell that it was a prop, because it was really well done.
Yeah.
But because of how they did the camera angle of that, you can see it.
It was a camera angle, yeah. That wasn't a good right there.
That was not a good camera angle, but I did really like that prop. That was a really good prop.
I would agree with you on that. I really do. Yeah, so she floats back in and out and everything. And so she, like, Nora freaks out and she runs and tries to get help.
Yep.
And from everyone who had gone back upstairs. And so they all come down and she's like, the door's locked. We got to break it down.
Yeah,
and
she couldn't get it open.
And it opens.
Yeah.
The door opens, and Lance is laying on the floor, and he's got, like, some blood. Because it seemed like he got hit or ran into a wall or something.
And they're like, well, the only thing that, like, nothing is in here to have run into except for the wall. Because it was just a big empty room.
It's like, yeah. And Watson thinks, it's like the ghosts hit him. It's like, why didn't they kill him?
Yeah. Because he is dead set on this house being haunted.
Mm-hmm.
And,
yeah.
So, they go back, Lance goes back, doesn't he go back with Nora to investigate that room?
After
and he's, like, knocking on the wall.
Let's see, where were we at? So...
they were investigating the...
Yes, they were investigating what was going on. They were doing, like, some knocking sounds.
Yeah, they were knocking on the wall.
And, of course, so he tells her, it's like, go to the other room and see if you can hear it on the other side. And so she's knocking on it. The music gets kind of quiet. Mm-hmm. And then she turns around, there's the old lady.
Yep.
Doing this.
Yeah.
Like, with her hands, like, up and, like, trying to scare her.
Yeah.
And then she, like, floats away.
Yep.
That part has scared me every single time I've watched it. And it's like, every time! And my brothers laugh at me every time we watch it together. Because they're like, Jess, you've seen this. You know what's going to happen. I'm like, I know, but it makes me jump still.
That's funny.
Every time. And when I watched it just recently, I texted my brother. I was like, it made me jump again. He's like, again?
Again.
So, yeah.
So the next thing I have is that Mrs. Lauren is showing Nora her room.
Yes.
And it seems like she's accusing her of having an affair with her husband.
Yes. It's like, oh, you're a pretty little thing, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cat fight there much.
And Nora's like, I don't even know your husband.
She's like, I just work for one of his companies.
Yeah.
That's it.
And the wife is super jealous, even though she doesn't like her husband.
No, they don't like each other. It's just like...
She's just jealous of the money.
Yes, exactly. She just wants the money. She's a gold digger.
Yeah. And then she's, like, leaving her, and she tells her not to go anywhere in the house alone. But then she leaves her alone.
In her room.
I'm like... But still, like, if you think this house is haunted and you tell her not to be anywhere alone, and then you leave her alone, you're a dumbass.
Like, or she just freaking her out because she's a mean woman.
That's true, too, but you're still a dumbass.
Well, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say Nora's the smartest person, either.
No, she is kind of dumb in this movie.
Yes. And then Lance also talks to Annabelle, too.
Yeah. And she's, like, hitting on him because she thinks he's cute.
Well, yeah.
She's hitting on him a little bit.
She's, like... flirting and everything, and she's warns him to be careful, and she's like, I don't think my husband's, nice person. She's afraid, and she's asking for help and everything. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, really?
And then you see Nora back in her room, and she's, like, opening her suitcase. And that is the tiniest freaking suitcase in the world.
Yeah.
The smallest one I've ever, like, that's like a bathroom bag suitcase.
Those are overnight cases. So, just a tiny bit before this, let me backtrack just a tiny bit. Because Frederick and Annabelle were back in their room, and he pulls her hair to show us a little bit that he's kind of mean to her.
Yeah.
And he says, you're going to the party.
Yeah.
So,
Then the suitcase.
Then the suitcase thing.
But like, my overnight bag is bigger than that.
Yeah, mine is too. It's such a tiny little case.
Yeah, it's like the size of this notebook.
It
Not
is.
like width-wise, but...
Yeah, it's small.
It's small. And she opens it and there's a head in there.
Yeah, she like flips shit.
Yeah. And she runs out.
Freaks out. Hides.
Yeah, and a man grabs her.
And says, "Come with us before he kills you." I'm like, yeah. And I put, is that a bit dramatic?
Just a little bit.
Just a little. I mean, if you're trying to really scare somebody, that's going to work.
Yeah. And so they go back down in the living room area. And the caretakers come in. And, like, before that, she's, like, wanting to leave, and she doesn't want to stay. She's like, I don't care about the money, I just want to leave.
She's like, I think Mr. Lauren's trying to kill me. And Lance's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
She's literally, like, slowly just losing her mind.
Yeah. She's a very jumpy person.
Yes, she is.
See, if I had found a head in my suitcase, I'd been like, man, what the
It's
fuck
like,
is this?
I would have said the same thing. Like, what is this? I didn't pack this.
I would have been so mad. I wouldn't have been scared. I just would have been mad. Like, where are my clothes?
It's like, my clothes are ruined now. It's like, great. Now I have nothing to wear.
But yeah, she's a very jumpy person.
She is very jumpy.
And so then the caretakers have come in, and the lady looks like the ghost.
Yeah.
Well, the creepy ghost.
The creepy
I call
lady.
her a ghost.
The
'cause of
creepy
how
lady.
She's like walking in and out.
Yeah, and floating around.
Yeah. Because you don't ever actually see them leave. You just see...
It's like you hear like this wind blowing.
Yeah.
And then you hear like the door slam.
And then everyone has to stay.
And then they're gone. And you're like, oh, well, you're stuck now. You can't leave. And then...
they pull out these little coffins.
There's these little
it's
coffins.
the party favors.
They're party favors, and they're loaded guns. He's like,
For everyone.
This is my wife's idea.
Yeah.
Because she's there. He's like, so amusing.
Yeah. And it's funny, a little bit later on, this isn't really anything, like, big. It's just something that I thought was kind of funny. So his wife is saying that she doesn't need the gun. So she does put hers back. And so one of them is closed when they all leave the room. But later on, all of them are open.
That was just a continuing.
Yeah. It's just an error I saw. And I just...
Good catch there.
I just wanted to mention it. Because I was, like, looking at it, and I was like, I'm pretty sure all of those are open. And then they show it one more time. I'm like, yeah, all of those are open.
So that was just a continuity.
Continuity.
Thank you. Continuity error.
Yeah. But I just saw that, and I just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
It's not really anything big or anything.
That's a good catch, though. It is.
I just thought it was funny.
Yes, everyone gets a gun, except, of course, Annabelle. And Nora's like, do you want to see something? Like, she wants to show people the head.
Yep.
So she takes him up there, and it's not there.
You want to know what my note is on that?
Yeah, go.
Head no longer in tiny-ass suitcase. Like, it's literally big enough to fit a head in it, and that's it.
It's little.
And Nora is very upset.
She's like, she's freaking hysterical at this point. She's just like yelling at people just to get out, and she's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're like, all right. So they're just like, okay, we're just gonna leave her alone. We're just gonna go to our rooms.
Then the doctor and Mr. Lauren are talking. I don't know if anybody else is there, but the doctor is saying that he's gone too far in scaring Nora. I'm like, and I'm kind of curious. I know that Pritchard thinks that the house is haunted, but did Mrs. Lauren, because you find out a little bit later it's her and the doctor trying to scare Nora into killing her husband, like Mr. Lauren. Did they plant all of this, or is it like actually, because there are some bits that I can tell are planted, and then some bits that I can tell I'm like, I can't tell if this is supposed to be ghost planted or they're planted. Like, I think
it's about half and half.
Yeah, so there's just some bits I'm like, I don't know.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Not to know. Which I like. So, let's see. So then Lance goes into Nora's room.
Yeah.
He sees that it's because she had run off. That he finds the head in the closet.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course,
doesn't he go to Pritchard, or is it somebody else that goes to Pritchard? Because he takes the head somewhere.
Yeah, he talks to Watson about it,
and he's holding a knife.
Yeah, I'm like,
you have a gun, and he's just holding a knife.
He's got a knife, and he's telling him, he's like, oh, they've taken her. He's like,
yeah.
She's like, where?
Such a creepy man. And then they're downstairs, it looks like, and they're coming up, and they find Mrs.
Yeah, because
they hear a noise.
And like it's a scream, then like the noise, and then they find Annabelle. She's found hanging.
Yeah.
And Nora sees too.
Mm-hmm.
And of course Nora's
freaks out again.
Just losing her shit, literally.
Yeah. And then there's a curtain, and there's something moving behind the curtain, but I don't remember who goes to investigate it. Because there's 2 different times when you see the curtain being investigated, and I don't remember. One of them's Lance, and one of them is Nora. And I don't remember which one is which.
It's like, Nora was the first time, then the second time is with Lance.
Okay.
Because he's, they all had gone back, they're like, okay, well, they think that Frederick had,
tried to kill Nora,
and then, he's like, Lance, like, Nora's in her room, so just like stay there.
Yeah.
Stay. Opens the window up. That's
and he
important.
sees.
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
I was like, not yet. So then they have a meeting in the living room. The doctor went everyone in the meeting, and people are suspecting that Frederick killed his wife. Yeah. Because, well, he's the only one who really has the motive. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'll say one of my lines. That's one of my lines in this scene that I love.
And Frederick thinks that one of the guests has killed his wife, so, and they all, like you were saying, they all think that he did it, and so they all agree to stay in their own rooms
until morning.
Because whoever comes out is the guilty party.
Yep.
And it's funny because they all end up coming out of their rooms.
At some point, yeah. So, this one part, the doctor's doorknob turns a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. Maybe that's a signal or something. And then the blood drops on Ruth's hands again.
Yeah,
in her room.
On the old lady's hands.
Yep. And then
she actually kind of gets scared.
Well, I can see that.
Yeah.
She does.
She's like trying to wipe it off.
She's
and then grabs the gun and is like scared.
It's like, yeah, doctor's got everyone convinced that Frederick killed his wife, and so Lance he finds this this hidden compartment.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. And he gets trapped behind there.
And it started storming too.
Yes. And then Nora's in her room, and she's standing there, and like the window's open.
Yeah.
And then there's like this rope that snakes around her legs, and she sees Annabelle floating towards her. I think that's the part where she just like completely is just done.
Mm-hmm. And then the rope just kind of like unravels and leaves.
Yeah, and then she walks out of the room, and then she sees Annabelle hanging again, even though she'd been taken down already. And then the weird creep hand comes out. She runs away down to the living room, and the piano starts playing, and then she just like runs.
Yeah. And then the doctor is walking down the hall to Mr. Lauren's room.
Because he hears someone walking around.
And the thing that I don't get is he says he hears someone walking around, and he says he heard the organ music, but he didn't say anything about hearing her scream. I'm like, of all of that, you should hear her scream.
She was screaming a lot.
Yeah.
She definitely was.
So they both decide to go investigate.
Different ways.
Yeah, they split up.
He's going to do the top, and Frederick's going to do, like, the bottom and, like, the cellar.
Yeah.
And then he goes... Well, they laid Annabelle in a room. And so he goes to that room where he is, and then he's like, our plan's working perfectly.
Yep.
And so then she magically she wakes up because she never was dead in the first place.
So I was like, when I was watching this, I didn't know what was going to be happening. Like, I thought they were really in a haunted house. Like, I thought that was the premise of this whole movie. I didn't know that, even though I had seen the remake, it's been a long time since, well, I watched it right after I watched this, but it's been a long time since I've actually paid attention to the remake. And so I didn't put it together that they were together, and I was like, she's not dead? Like, what in the world is going on? And then that made me like, okay, well then that ghost thing where she was in the window, that didn't actually happen. She didn't actually hang, and she wasn't put back up there. Like, so I was like trying to reason through my head of what could possibly be haunted house part, and what could possibly be whatever the frick they had planned.
Yeah,
so like I was trying to like reason through it, because it's a very confusing movie if you don't know what's going on.
Exactly. You gotta pay attention. Yep. And so they're planning to get Frederick killed. Yeah. By Nora, because she's hysterical, and so because she had Annabelle had a hanging harness on, so that's how she's able to fake her death. Yeah. And Nora's in the cellar. Why in the world should we go back in the cellar? I don't know. I don't know. She's like, and then like the lights are off and everything, and she hears someone coming down the stairs,
and she hears Mr. Lawrence say no, no. And to me, that would register that, like, that's long enough to know that that is a person, not a ghost. Don't shoot it, but she's hysterical, so I can see why she shot it.
She thinks that Mr. Warren's after her too. Yeah, so she's true. Just like, she's hysterical, so she shoots him.
Yeah, and then she runs screaming
away, and then you see the doctor is Dr. Trent is hidden behind something, and he drags Frederick's dead body. Yeah, tries dragging it,
and the lights go out.
Yep. Tries to drag it to the acid vet. Lights go out. You hear somebody get thrown in.
Yeah, and then like the sounds of them dying.
Yep. The lights come back on, and you hear Annabelle. You see Annabelle coming down the stairs to the cellar, and the door closes right behind her. Which I thought was awesome.
Yeah. And then she sees that something is boiling in the acid, but she doesn't know what or who. Yes. And then I have when we get to trivia, I have a fun fact about this that you might have, but I don't know.
Go ahead.
But then the skeleton comes out of the acid.
Rises, and it's Frederick's voice talking to her.
And the skeleton goes after Mrs. Lauren. And it scares her backwards, and then he pushes her into the pit.
Yeah, pretty much. The skeleton kind of just gives her just like tiny little nudge, and she falls in.
And then Frederick comes out from like behind this little thingy, and he's like puppeting the skeleton.
It's a puppet. I was like, yes. Oh my god, yes. And he's like controlling it, and then here's the rest of the guests come back down, and he's like, oh, they were trying to kill me.
Yep. He reveals the plot. And at this point, there are now 9 people dead in the house. Because there's the 7, and then the doctor and Mrs. Lauren have both died. All of them have died. And Watson Pritchard still believes that the ghosts are going to come for him, and then everyone else.
The man's paranoid.
Yes. And then that's the end.
Yeah. It's pretty much the end.
I have the quote. I'm going to save that for when we get to quotes.
I was like, of course, they had gotten Lance out during all this, so he's fine. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much the end of the film. Mm-hmm. And then, like, the creepy, it exits out of the house. Mm-hmm. And the door closes. There's, like, this music playing, which I love.
Yeah. And it sucks. Like, I was looking, and I could not find stuff about the music for this movie. Like, I couldn't...
Really?
Yeah, normally it says on here soundtrack or something about the music, and it's normally in this section right here, but it's not there. Like, there's nothing about the music for this film.
I have theme.
You have the theme?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not there, so...
Well, it says it's the Haunted House on Haunted Hill theme by Richard Kane and Richard Loring.
Okay. Yeah, none of the rest of it. There's like... Because normally there's a section there, and it's not there.
It's all instrumental
Yeah.
music.
And it does a very good job of building tension
Yes.
when it needs to, and then also relieving it when it needs to.
That's what I love about the older movies. This is, of course, in black and white also.
Yeah.
And the big thing about the horror films back then, it was all about really the music.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it got the suspense, and that's how it got you scared.
Yeah. Yeah, I really liked all the music, and I thought it was perfect. So, the comparison. So, I watched this for the first time, and then I watched the remake, and I had seen the remake before.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that it was a remake the first time I saw it, because this was probably like, I don't know, maybe 12 or something. This was young, so I didn't know it was a remake. When I was younger, I liked it, but when you're younger, you don't know enough about movies to know that that's a crappy movie. I just thought it was a good, creepy horror movie. And then I watched it again, and I'm like, this is the worst mistake of my life. Like, this is one of the worst things I've ever seen. It was horrible, and I had a plan to watch the original, and then watch the remake, and then, because it was late when I watched it, I was going to watch the Return to House on Haunted Hill the next day. I got like 30 minutes into the remake, and I was like, I am not watching the second one. This is horrible. I don't know why I put myself through it. It's so bad. They did like a similar story. They just changed it, and they made the haunting bits more obvious. Like, the parts that, like, you know how you couldn't tell what was actually planted and what was haunted in this one?
Yeah.
The remake, you can tell what's planted, like what's actually happening and what's ghosts.
Oh, that takes out the fun.
Like, you can tell like, if you're as well versed in horror movies as I am, you can tell the difference. And then, one thing that I really didn't like was, the Mrs. Lauren character.
Yeah.
She killed the doctor. Like, that was supposed to be her lover, and she killed him because they were trying to frame Pritchard, or not Pritchard, frame, Mr. Lauren. Because that's not their names. They changed all the names.
Yeah.
And then, at the end, they do, like, this big, huge ghosty bit, and the CGI of it is absolutely horrible.
God.
Like, of the remakes that came out at that point in time, 13 Ghosts is a way better remake. I mean, I've never seen the original, but it's a way better movie than the remake of this.
Huh.
Don't. I know you'll never watch it, but I'm like, listeners, do not ever watch this remake, because it is horrible. It's the worst thing you will ever watch. Like, I was gonna stop watching it in the middle, but I was like, I need to see how this finishes, because I want to talk about it. Because...
Well, good for you. You kept it, because I refused to watch it.
Well, I've seen some pretty bad horror movies, but this one is one of the worst that I've seen.
Yeah, I refused. I think I've seen, like, a snippet, and I was like, no.
Yeah, it's not...
No.
It's not good.
No.
The only thing that I think is cool is when you see the outside of the house.
Oh, okay.
That is the coolest part.
That's
But
kind
the
of sad.
rest of it is not good. And there's some actors in there that I've seen in other things that do a really good job, but this one not so much.
Yeah.
So,
Alright, some trivia.
do you want me to do my little snippet?
You can do your snippet, then I'll do mine.
Okay, I don't know if you have this one. I just saw it when I was doing my research, and I thought it was, or no, when I was looking at comparisons.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know the skeleton that he's controlling as the puppet?
Mm-hmm.
In the credits, he's credited as the skeleton, as himself.
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny.
Skeleton by himself.
Yeah, as himself. I'm like, okay, congratulations, that's funny. But that's my little bit of trivia that I had.
I did catch that. That did make me laugh. So, this came out in 1959.
Yeah, in February.
So, there's another director, very famous for his horror films too, that he saw how much, for such a low-budget film, that it was doing so well, that it inspired him to make his own low-budget horror film. Of course, that famous man is Alfred Hitchcock.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie that he made was the incredibly awesome movie Psycho,
Yeah.
which came out in 1960.
Yep.
Love Psycho. It's on our list.
It is.
I'm very excited about this. So, there's more trivia. This one, they did this a lot back with the like horror films. It was called, they did like a 4D effect, kind of. And, like you feel something.
Yeah.
Especially with horror films. So with this one, in the theaters, they did the skeleton emerging from the acid. So they had an actual skeleton, like a plastic one, floating in the theater. But they had to stop it because teenage boys started shooting it with, like, slingshots and all of that.
Oh, yeah, look. Even right here on IMDb, skeleton himself. That's funny.
And it's like, and also the beginning part where it gets like really loud and like there's all this like screaming and ghoulish sounds and everything, that really helped give it for like, it helped inspire like the sounds for like Halloween parties and all of that, like given like haunted houses and stuff.
And the Monster Mash.
And of course the Monster Mash. Oh, let me think. I'm trying to think. So the $10,000. I gotta look it up really quick.
Oh, in the remake it was $1 million.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Per person?
Yeah.
Gosh, let me get my inflation calculator up. So the actual theme music that you hear, I thought this was cool too. There's actual words to it. So the lyrics go, there's a house on Haunted Hill where everything's lonely and still. And the ghost of a sigh, when he whispered goodbye, lingers on. And each night gives a heart-broken cry. There's a house on Haunted Hill where love walked, there's a strange silent chill. There are memories that yearn for our hearts to return, and a promise we fail to fulfill. But we'll never go back, no, we'll never go back to the house on Haunted Hill.
I've heard that. I think that they play that in the remake, because I've heard that before.
Yes, that was that's the actual lyrics to the song.
So, for the inflation calendar, $10,000 in 1959 is $87,349 today. And so for the 1999 movie, they inflated it quite a bit from that because it would be $58,096 in 1999. So they took it really far in the remake because they said $1 million per person that got out.
Wow.
But only 2 people survived that movie.
Jeez.
Yeah. The rest of them died.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's really not much trivia for this movie, which just kind of makes me sad.
Yeah. So, favorite line.
Where do I start? You can start. Because I got a lot.
Darling, the only ghoul in this house is you.
Classic.
Who would want to haunt me? I'd say any self-respecting male ghost.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder why they didn't kill him. Fear makes people do amazing things. We've done it, the perfect crime. And then do you want me to read my really long one from the end?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. I got this from the script, so it's kind of difficult to read. The crime that they drafted, it was really perfect. Only the victim is alive and the murderers are not. They should have known when they began their macabre game that I was also playing. I really like that.
Some good lines there. So a lot of mine are Frederick Lawrence lines, actually. Because he just has some really good, some one-liners that are just
Yeah, he does.
So, one of them is, don't stay up thinking of ways to get rid of me. It makes wrinkles. Let's see. Another one. What husband hasn't wanted to kill his wife? That one just made me giggle.
Yeah, I liked that one. I didn't write it down, but...
That one just made me giggle so much. Here's the rest of it. So what husband hasn't at some time wanted to kill his wife? What husband hasn't had 1,000 opportunities? Do it in such a way so that he never be suspected.
Yeah.
That's my other one. Yeah. You used some of my lines, so I can't.
Sorry.
It's okay. mean, yeah, there's just a lot of good lines. I mean, I'm partial to Vincent Price. So I wrote down a bunch of his lines.
So which one are you going to go with?
I'm going to have to go with the don't stay up thinking of ways to get rid of me. It makes wrinkles. Because it just really shows the relationship between the two.
Yeah.
And, like, a little bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, it's so dark that it's funny.
Yeah, it is. It's dark humor. It's really funny. So, what is your rating?
Again, I'm partial. I'm giving this an 8. A solid 8. Vincent Price, of course. The fact that the music just gives it so much suspense and just really, really gives this movie a lot.
Yeah, it does.
And the fact that every time I watch it, it still makes me jump.
Alright.
So, solid 8 for me.
I gave it an 8 as well.
Awesome.
I really liked it. It's definitely one of the classic horror movies.
Yes.
This is the first time I'd seen it. Not that I didn't know it existed, I just hadn't watched it. I didn't know I had it. That's one reason that I didn't watch it. Because a lot of times I don't watch movies because I don't know I have them.
Oh.
Because I'm really lazy and don't want to go find them. So, but yeah, I really liked it. Just a couple things made me give it an 8 rather than anything higher. The camera shot on the creepy old witch lady.
Yeah.
It's just, if they had done that one camera shot better, that would have made it would have given it more of a spooky effect rather than a funny effect.
Yes.
To me, it was funny rather than spooky. Because
Yeah.
you just see her rolling on in.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do.
And then the plot is it's a little bit confusing if you don't know what's going on. So you have to make sure you pay 100% attention, which is not hard for an hour and 15-minute movie if you're not me.
If you're not a cat.
Because I have a hard time paying attention. Like, I love movies, but if I'm at home watching them, I have a hard time paying attention because I get distracted. If I'm at the movie theater watching them, then I'm fine, but
Same.
I have a hard time watching movies.
Like, I would love to watch this at the movie theater.
Yeah.
I think it would just give it, I don't know, more.
Yeah. I can see that. But, yeah, I really liked it a lot, and this is going to go on my list of movies to watch every Halloween.
Yay! Because I watch it.
I have a pretty long list, but this will be on there, and I'll try to get to it.
Yay.
Because I also try to watch new movies every October.
That's true.
Alright, so our next film is one of my favorites. It's The House is October Built, and it was released in 2014. It's not a big, major production.
It's not.
It's a very independent film, but it's one of my guilty pleasures. I really like it. Because I know a lot of people that don't like it. Well, I don't know them, but I, like, seeing from the research, I know people that don't like it. And it's... You have to go into it with an open mind.
Yeah.
You definitely do.
It's true.
But yeah, that's our next one.